What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Half Street High Heat. As we continue on with our rankings season, it is episode 180, season 4, episode 4. I was going to say episode 4 of season 4. I'll work on that. But ranking season continues on. As tonight, if you're watching on YouTube, I am the only one man enough to show his face behind his rankings. Since, there were some questionable rankings last week, and I guess that led to some people, hiding behind a Zoom wall instead of,
who could that have been?
No, some technical difficulties, but we're persevering, pushing through as we rank shortstops tonight. It's a very interesting discussion, a very deep position. Arguably the deepest position of any of the 9 or 10 that we'll end up doing, maybe 8. I don't know how many we'll end up doing, but arguably the deepest position. And it's probably something that couldn't have been said 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago. It was very top heavy, and now it's surprisingly balanced and closer together than you might think, but we'll get into that. I'm joined again by my good friend Ryan. You can follow him on Twitter at WeAreAllShaq, and Trey, you can follow him on Twitter, reverse. Two R's, 2 S's, still reverse. I guess I should mention that. You should see that below. I did officially change my handle. No big deal. Just a new era.
Nats Moose.
Nats Moose. And shout out Ryan for the name. And that's another thing, Trey. I'm sure you've kind of checked it out yourself. Impossible to find a good Twitter handle. Just all the good ones are gone, and you have to settle for something like reverse 2 R's, 2 S's. But I can't see your face, so I don't know if you're laughing or not.
If it was the OG reverse, then it would be sweet.
I checked. Honestly, I was like, I wonder if I could just somehow sneak in and grab reverse, the original reverse, because that's, if you got the original one, it would be awesome.
You would just own me at that point.
Oh man. But yeah, so shout out Ryan for the idea. But yeah, I am officially embracing the Moose nickname that my some of my players, and actually started by one of the parents, but the players adopted it and calling me Coach Moose. So officially Nats Moose. Feels good. It's much easier to go with the nickname when it's given to you. I mean, I don't know.
Definitely.
Yeah. But anyways, so that's my new handle. So follow me at Nats Moose now, and obviously the show at Half Street High Heat. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that bell, subscribe to the channel. And if you're listening via the OG platforms, wherever your podcasts are found, be sure to head to our YouTube channel and subscribe as well. Obviously the big news that came out recently, today, actually, we're recording a couple days before this is coming out. No deal has been struck between the PA and the MLB. There's a lot of politicking going on. We could obviously do a whole episode about this. Ryan, I wanted to pass it to you though, because you have become the Bat Shack and have taken justice and vengeance into your own hands. Vengeance. And have been honestly doing not that you don't do great work anyways, obviously I love you, but you did great, investigative work into the numbers, and just how you framed it very well is basically what I'm trying to say with the numbers. Do you want to talk a little bit about the CBT and basically just how much money the owners are pocketing versus what they're actually offering?
Yeah, the whole process was very disingenuous by the owners. There's a report coming out that in December, one owner said that their goal was to break the union, not make a deal. It's very, very easy to figure out who that owner is. Not naming names, but I'm looking in Colorado. But the whole process is just so stupid. And the owners were just focusing and fixating on $220 million for the tax threshold and not coming up, which is really dumb when you think about it, because if it was staying consistent with revenue, which it's not, it would start at $290 million this year for teams. How much money are the owners trying to save? Well, They get $60 million from the national TV deals. On average, teams get $40 million from the local deals. So every team's starting out with about $100 million before tickets ever sold, right? So that's more than half the league's payroll right then and there off the bat. Then I found this out. Every team made on average about $3.1 million in food and merchandise in 2019 per game. That's 251 per million. So do the math. That's 350 million teams have made without selling a single ticket. And that also doesn't count in the advertising, the marketing, all the other money things that teams get. It's stupid. The owners are ruining baseball. They do not care about baseball. And they're just basically ruining it because, like I said, without taking in advertising, which is a lot of freaking money, and not ticket sales, which is a lot of money, teams are sitting at about $350 million in revenue already. The Dodgers TV deal is also worth $330 million. So do some math. There's a lot of bad stuff going on by the owners. And if you are considering, like, oh, this is both sides, the players are greedy, you should probably look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself why, because it's rather obvious what's going on. And it's not the side that MLB Network refused to show their press conference for at fault.
Yeah, and I mentioned this in our, Half Street High Heat group chat earlier, but it seems like the most popular counter argument right now, at least today, was, 16 of the 20 largest contracts in, North American major sports are baseball contracts. But that's not who they're fighting for. That's not what this is about. This is about the minor leaguer. Well, the, minor leaguers, yes, but like the not top tier talent guys. Obviously, in any sport, the top tier talent guys are going to get paid. We're talking about the pre-arb guys and just also just getting owners to spend money. Because if you look at, trying to find a good example, teams that will pay one or two guys and then not do anything, or like, the extreme cases, there's plenty of those where the Rays are trading away Cy Young Award winners the year after they win, and, trading guys before they are due to get paid. And, teams like the Orioles have like a $30 million payroll, and, Max Scherzer's making more than that himself. It's not about the top dollar. It's about like the bottom dollar in my mind. That's the best way I can put it. And obviously there's people that are, way more involved in the negotiations and in the research than I am, but it's never been a question to me about who's right and wrong here. Because obviously in these negotiations, you're going to take a side. That's kind of natural when it's so publicized, but it's never been a question to me. It's like, the players have a legitimate gripe here. The owners are taking whatever they want, doing whatever they want, and ruining the product when it's the players who really put asses in seats and all that stuff. It's horrible to watch, but I'm glad at least, you see a bunch of players utilizing Twitter and social media, and players that wouldn't normally use Twitter and social media if there wasn't, a labor negotiation going on, but they're taking to platforms like Twitter to, get their side out. And I think that's incredibly important, when this is all about narratives and framing, and you have freaking MLB Network not showing all of the press conference. Like and you have Rob Manfred laughing at the idea of canceling game. It's just, I don't understand how anyone can be pro owner or, oh, both sides are wrong. But Trey, I know you felt some type of way about the both sides are wrong argument. What do you think?
Oh yeah. Really you couldn't say both sides before like yesterday. And like, even then it was still, you're still not paying enough attention even before that. But after yesterday, there's no both sides here. If you want to pick the owner side, I guess that's fine, even though you're wrong. But yeah, the players are getting screwed. I think you guys hit on a lot of the great financial points. The one point that I was thinking about earlier that I thought was interesting is, the guy who's getting the most press as being like at the forefront of current players is Max Scherzer. And I just think it's kind of interesting that people aren't really paying attention to the fact that Max Scherzer's on his last contract and he's already secured it. Why else would he be fighting for players unless it wasn't for him? It's not for him. And Andrew Miller was another guy who's really involved, and he's an older veteran as well. So he's not fighting for him to get more money. He's fighting for the younger guys to get more money. So if people aren't paying attention to that, they're just not doing enough research.
Yeah. The 16 of the 20 largest contracts, and Max Scherzer's up there if you want to talk AAV and stuff like that. That's just such a lazy argument. Like, it's just some of the stuff you saw on Twitter today is just like
critical thinking skills today on Twitter.
Right. Very weak. But yeah, so all that being said, baseball will not start in time. I don't think that's necessarily a surprise to anyone. I think if you thought a deal would get done, it was out of sheer optimism, not realism. It sucks. Like, obviously I want baseball to start on time, but at the same time, if it takes canceling the whole season to get this the way it should be, it needs to happen. Like, because maybe this is the fault of the players. Again, I'm not going to try to pretend like I'm, the most versed on the history of labor negotiations, but it seems like the players are trying to kind of catch up with, past negotiations and not getting it to the level it should have been. I don't know, but I'm just saying there's a lot of ground to be covered, and the players shouldn't budge until they get it to where it should be today in 2022. So no baseball on time. We'll see when or if it starts. The MLB gave their best and final offer. If that's their best and final offer, I mean, we're talking about a new baseball league at this point. Like, just start up a new league. The MLB is dead. Start up the National Baseball League, the NBL or something, and just pivot, because that best and final offer was complete dog shit. So that's the state of baseball. That's the state of the sport we love. Great stuff there, whatever. But something we do love and do cherish and will never take for granted, and will always come out on time, is our rankings and ranking season. Tonight we are tackling shortstops. We have our top 10. I will preface this by saying we have a lot of honorable mentions too. It was a very, like I said earlier, deep position, and a lot of good convincing arguments for a lot of these guys, especially, 7 through 15, 7 through 12, something like that. It's really, really close. And even, 4 to 10 isn't that big of a difference in my mind. But a convincing argument nonetheless for a lot of these guys. Before we get into the official top 10, I will kick it to Ryan, because Ryan had Jorge Polanco playing shortstop. We don't know where Jorge Polanco is going to be. I had him in Trey and I had him in second base last week, and he was in both of our top 10s. If he was a shortstop officially, which he may or may not be, we don't know, he would be in my top 10. So I did want to kind of come back to him and let Ryan, talk about him a little bit, because he would be in the top 10. So I guess the top 10 honorable mention, sort of, Jorge Polanco. Ryan, what do you like about Jorge Polanco?
Yeah, so there's a lot of people in the middle infield that you could disagree about their positions, because everyone kind of hops around.
Yeah, who the hell knows?
I put him at shortstop, and the reason why I'm such a big fan of him, last year he had 5 WAR, 125 OPS plus, 826 OPS. On base, only 326. I'm on base guy. I want that up, but he had an over 500 slugging and 33 bombs in the AL Central. There's not exactly the most hitter-friendly parks in that division.
Detroit's not hitter-friendly?
No. Look up what Nicholas Castellanos
yeah,
that's what I was got traded out of there. 270 hitter, 276 on his career high in slugging last year. I'm just a big fan of him. I think he's finally consistently developed that slugging. His slugging was way down in 2020. I don't care about 2020, but in 2019, when he was an all-star, he had a 485 slugging as well, and he hit 300. So I think he's consistently found that power stride, which makes him a top shortstop or second baseman wherever he plays, mixed in with good defense as well. And he's top 10 at whichever position he's at.
Yeah, 100%. Again, like I just said, if he is a shortstop, whatever he's considered to be, he's top 10. He's really, really good. No qualms there. Jorge Polanco, very good in an otherwise not great situation with Minnesota. Although who the hell knows? Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're shit. Who knows? But I guess honorable mention to kick it off. Now we move on to number 10. Number 10 on our list, and I will preface again by saying there's a lot of ties in the composite rankings between Ryan and myself. Trey, I assume you'll probably be along the same lines. But a lot of ties and, kind of very similar rankings between Ryan and myself. I think we only had like one or two guys flipped. But number 10 on the composite rankings is Wander Franco, the new sensation, age 20 season last year, if I'm not mistaken. So he played 70 games. He put up 3.5 WAR, guys, like 3.5. So, I mean, close to an 8 WAR season as his rookie season. If you extrapolate that over a full season, obviously health and everything. 288 average, 347 on base, 810 OPS. Again, rookie season. Like, this guy is so good. And I'll honestly put it at this, and I'll let you guys take over. If you are so good that the Rays decide to pay you, that's kind of the only argument you need. I wanted to put him so much higher. Like, I am fully bought into the hype. I will leave my part on Wander Franco with this. I think he's going to be top 5 shortstop by the year's end, assuming we play like a majority of the 162. No, obviously not the full 162, but a majority of the 162. I think Wander Franco will be top 5 by year's end. He is so freaking good. And the Rays are obviously really, really good. It's not like you expect him to have that much of a down year because the Rays are going to be bad. I think Wander Franco is going to take the world by storm, like similar to how, Tatis and some of the other young guys did. I'm a huge Wander Franco fan. But Ryan, you had him at number 10. I had him at number 9. Why did Wander Franco crack your top 10?
Yeah, Wander is the truth. When you look at his season, 288, 7 home runs, 39 RBIs, 810 OPS in 70 games as a rookie is very, very impressive. But when you look at it a little bit more, what he did after the All-Star break is what shows his potential and how special he really is. 55 games after the All-Star break. This is him as a rookie. 5 home runs, 22 RBIs, 872 OPS, and he walked 19 times and struck out 22. Only 22 strikeouts in 55 games as a rookie is absurd. Almost as many walks as strikeouts is incredible discipline, considering there's only about 3 players in baseball last season who had more walks and strikeouts. That is incredible plate discipline. And also, he did it on the big stage as well. The Rays got bounced early, but when they're in the playoffs, Wander hit great. He had 2 home runs, a 1,200 OPS, hit 370. He did it at the biggest stage as a young player, truly showing his potential. The Rays locked him up for a long time. He probably could have gone about double or triple that if he hits his full potential. That's all right. He got his money. He got his longevity, and he's going to be the absolute truth. It was a very small sample size. All of these are small sample size alerts, but when you're putting up these numbers in a small sample size, you're the truth. And going off potential, he's top 10.
Yeah, 100%. Also, today, March 1st, is his birthday. So happy birthday, Wander Franco.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, Trey, did Wander Franco crack your top 10? If not, why are you so dumb?
Yeah, he was my number 9.
Right.
And like you were saying, he could be top 5. He would be a top 5 in pretty much any other position. The only problem is that shortstop's just so deep that, the 70 game sample size can't quite put him up there, but he has every tool. He is, in terms of just pure entertainment value, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but he's probably a top 5 for me going into this season just to watch, just because everything he can do is so impressive. It's funny because he doesn't have very many steals, and that's because of the Rays philosophy. But he has so much speed. This guy, he's so fast, and so I wonder if they'll let him loose a little bit more, but probably not because they don't do that. But yeah, as soon as we get a bigger sample size of this, he's gonna be, top 15 player eventually, probably soon.
Granted, we had Steven Strasburg, Bryce Harper, but it's something when you have a number one prospect in baseball called up and he's actually good. Like, what's that like? Couldn't be the Nats. But yeah, Wander Franco, number 10 on our composite rankings. Moving on to number 9, that is one Tim Anderson. When we were ranking him, Ryan actually said something that we probably have Tim Anderson too low, which is honestly probably true, but it's so hard to put him over anyone else. But that's not to take anything away from him. He's been great for some time now. In 2021, 4.8 WAR, 309 batting average. Again, that's not the end all be all, but he does have a batting title under his belt. 338 on base, 806 OPS, great bat flips as well, like high entertainment value, which, I'm always going to throw a couple points to when I'm trying to rank these players. He's been great for basically his entire stint with the White Sox. He's going into year 7 with them already, and it feels like, he still has so much left in the tank. Doesn't walk a lot, but the on-base percentage is still very respectable. I wonder what it would be like if he was able to work more walks, but again, it's not, it doesn't define him as a player. He's still very good. Ryan, why did you like Tim Anderson so much? Oh, I had him number 10, you had him number 9, so we flipped him. But why do you like Tim Anderson?
Yeah, Tim Anderson in 2019 had his coming out party. That is when he really took a massive step. He won the batting title that year, almost a 100-point swing in his batting average. And everyone's like, is this a flash in the pan or is he here? He's here. Since 2019, he's slashing 322, 349, 495, 45 home runs in that span. Power's not his thing. That's fine. He's a leadoff guy. 72 doubles in that span as well. His defense is also improving over the course of playing. He is 11 runs better defensively. Defensive run saves where he was in 2019. His zone rating is also getting better. He's covering more range out there when he's playing shortstop. His range is good. His speed is good. He's getting a lot better defensively. He's a consistent threat with the bat. His approach is getting better. His strikeout rate is now well below league average. It's below 22%. It was 27% when he came in the league. His walk rate is low, but it's getting up. And he's also not swinging at pitches outside the zone as much, which is why we're seeing Tim Anderson take that huge gap from hitting 240 to winning the batting title. Tim Anderson has finally figured it out. He's the face of the Chicago White Sox, who are a very young, exciting team. He has swagger. His home run in the cornball game, forgot where was it? Iowa. Yeah, his walk-off home run in that was just absolutely iconic, and he's fun. He's a great player, and he's only getting better as he keeps playing. So I'm really excited to see what 2022 has in store when we finally play.
The cornball game was like one of the only correct decisions the MLB made by sending juice baseballs to that, game, or it was just a game, but all the home runs heading into the corner was just awesome. Like, that's not the game where you want 2-1 pitcher stool. Like, you want fireworks. So that's one of the only times I side with the MLB. Trey, Tim Anderson, yes, no?
Yes, he's my number 10.
Okay.
Since Ryan didn't say it, I will. He got that dog in him. And also it's
got that dog in him.
You may not believe this. However, I actually called that walk-off homer, and I'll get my friends maybe to attest for me, but I did call that, to be fair. He's just got the great combo of contact, power, and speed. You guys pretty much hit every point on him, and he's an improved defender. I would have put him even higher if he played a full season last year, but he only played just over 120 games. But yeah, I mean, again, we are stuck in this position where all these players are so great that Tim Anderson at 10 feels just so disingenuous, but
Right.
we couldn't really move him any higher. But I definitely couldn't leave him out either.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. He's definitely deserving of top 10 and not really in too much jeopardy of being bumped by anyone on the outside looking in. But it's tough to put him ahead of anyone right now, at least. Obviously, he has been getting better, like Ryan said. So who knows what the next season, whenever the hell the next season is played, has in store for Tim Anderson. Moving on to number 8, Ryan left him off his list. I had him number 8, and the tiebreaker, he was actually this next. I was tied with Wander Franco, Tim Anderson, and Jorge Polanco. If you added up the scores and whatnot, the tiebreaker was whoever had him highest ranked. I had this guy ranked 8th. Like I said, Ryan didn't have him ranked. That is Beau Buchette, Flo Buchette. I love this guy, and I think as to be expected when you play with Marcus Semien and Vladdy Jr. and like this young and upcoming Blue Jays team that were just so exciting to watch, and they're trading for Jose Barrios and signing Hyunjin Ryu and like trying to make all these moves. It's easy to get lost in the shuffle, but Beau Buchette deserves the spotlight just as much as anyone else. 5.9 WAR last year, 298 average, 828 OPS, 102 RBIs, 29 home runs, which, if you look at him, it's like you wouldn't think he's hitting for all that much power. And that's no slight against him. It's just shortstop, not, physically imposing. You just would expect he's not hitting for power, but he is. Like he had a great year last year. A lot of things to like about him. And again, he's so young. It was his age 23 season last year. So again, for me personally, trying to do these projections, or rankings, I am doing projections also if there's like tiebreakers, or especially something like shortstop where, it is already so tight that I'm trying to do my best to think about how this next season might unfold. And for someone like Beau Buchette, he's so young that you would have to imagine he's going to be even better next year, like as he continues to figure things out. And obviously the Blue Jays are highly competitive, or seeming to be, and all this stuff. So I love Beau Buchette. I think he's going to have a great career. And obviously you put that head of lettuce on anyone like Flo Buchette, also great nickname. Talking about nicknames, like this dude has it all. And I said Wander Franco is going to be top 5. Second bold prediction of the night, Beau Buchette will be top 5 by season's end as well. But Ryan, you did not have him in your top 10. Why is Beau Buchette on the outside looking in?
I love me a good bold prediction. Sometimes when you make a list, sometimes you forget some people exist, and that's
you got to make
okay.
hard decisions too. That's what Shaq's all about.
Exactly. That's what I'm all about. At the end of the day, my narratives are going to be over everything. Look, Beau's good, 191 hits. He was also the first shortstop in MLB history. In 2020, he did this where he had 7 straight games with an extra base hit and an RBI. That's fantastic. I didn't include him in the top 10 because, look, I said it with Vlad. I said it with Semien. I'm going to say for him, how much of his boost was from playing in South Florida. He had great numbers in 2019 and 2020, played about a combined 70 games. And then this is his first full season. This could be very well who he is. We don't know. I want to see it. Prove me wrong, Beau. I want to see it this year and realize it was not just South Florida letting him be a great guy and just pepper every single gap and hitting 30 doubles and 30 home runs and 190 hits.
Yeah, perfectly fair. Obviously, you are nothing but consistent, and we love you for that. My small counter argument is that, and again, it's small because of sample size, 46 games in 2019, 29 in 2020. Like both those years, or if you put those together, like above an 850 OPS, above a 300 batting average, above a 340 on base percentage. Like, again, it's a 70 game sample, but we use that for Wander Franco. So it's like his 70 game sample prior to playing in, a minor league stadium is still very encouraging. So that's why, he has the 70 games that Wander Franco does, but he also has another full season with that, whether it's a minor league stadium or not. So that's why I personally had Beau Buchette so much higher than you did. I hope I'm not wrong, because he's just someone you definitely want to root for. He's so fun to watch. And again, that head of lettuce is one of the best head of lettuces in baseball. But Trey, help me out here. Please tell me Beau Bichette's in your top 10.
Beau Buchette is number 8 on my list.
Oh, so far we're 3 for 3. We have the same list.
We are. It's the same thing with Franco. It's just, I just want to see more now with Bichette. Obviously, he's played a full season at this point, but with the shortstops that are above him, you can't really bump anybody off until you see Bichette, do that for a longer period of time. And I think he's definitely capable. The extra base hit potential with him in terms of gap power and home run power are through the roof. He's got a great swing too. He just hacks as hard as he can every time. And, sometimes that doesn't work, but for him it does. So, yeah. And then, he still got time to improve his defense. He wasn't particularly bad, but compared to other shortstops, maybe a little bit lower on the totem pole there, but he's only 23, or 24 now, maybe. But, yeah, he's got plenty of time to improve his defense. So again, would be probably a top 5 player in any other position, but he's number 8 for me.
Yeah, shortstop is just so deep, man. Just so deep.
I said the last 2 times that this was difficult. This was on another level.
This one is like the real. All right, now we're serious. Like, This is, this was pretty close together. Moving on to number 7 is a guy that's probably difficult for a lot of people to project right now, and I'm sure he's going through this himself as he's trying to negotiate a new contract. That is Trevor Story, comes in at number 7. Ryan and I both had him 7 on our list. If you're just doing 2021, a little bit of a down year based on his career standards. 4.2 WAR, 24 home runs, 75 RBIs, 801 OPS. Obviously he was playing with the Rockies, and everyone knows the state of the Rockies currently, the post Arenado trade and basically the postseason run that they've had in 2018, and everything that's happened since then. Trevor Story was really, really good for so long. And Ryan, I know you're the same way. I don't put too much stock into the Coors effect, so it's like I'm not going to view his numbers as overly inflated just based on where he plays half his games, especially because he's been so consistent and he can't help where he plays. Like, he played in Colorado. All right. So he raked, like he did what he was supposed to, and you can't really knock him for that. I mean, if you go back to 2018, 2019, I mean, he's consistently hitting above 290 with an over 900 OPS. He had 37 home runs, followed up with 35 home runs. And that, he played in less games in 2019 than he did in 2018. He was top 12 in MVP voting for 3 years in a row, 4th in Rookie of the Year voting back in 2016. Like, the sample size is there where it wasn't with someone like Wander Franco or Beau Buchette. So he had a down year in 2021. But for me personally, again, I'm trying to project. Trevor Story clearly was not happy with the situation in Colorado. The front office, and Ryan mentioned the lovely owner out there in Colorado earlier, like the front office and ownership promised the players one thing, right? They promised Arenado that they would try to build around him. And, 2 years later, they're trading him to, someone in the same league, and paying for him to be off the team at that as well. Trevor Story thought he was going to get dealt at the deadline, does not get dealt. He, kind of voices his frustration. So for me, I'm the type to try to factor in that kind of mental aspect of playing. And it talked about last week, when talking about Whit Merrifield, and you talked about with Josh Bell, Christian Yelich, the guys that perform on bad teams or have to perform on bad teams. And I think Trevor Story, obviously with his vocal frustration of ownership, contributed to his down year. Is he, as good as 1 through 4 on this list? Probably not, but he still deserves to be very much, middle of the top 10 in my mind. No question about it. Like, I don't have any thought of dropping him out of my top 10. Ryan, you didn't either. Why do you like Trevor Story at 7?
Yeah, Trevor Story had the James Harden fat suit on this year. That man hated playing for Rockies. You can't really blame him. He was no stranger to voicing his frustrations, which again, I do not blame him at all. 2018 was his coming out party, and through 2018 to 2020, he was great. He finished top 12 MVP voting all 3 of those years, won Silver Slugger in 18 and 19, All-Star in 18 19. He's also had 2020 seasons in 3 of the last 4 years. Probably would have had one again in 2020 if not for the shortened season. He led the league in triples and stolen bases in 2020. 2021, he saw career lows across the board. Career lows in batting average, lower by 20 points of his career average. Career low in on base, 11 points. Career low in slugging by a good margin, and a good margin with OPS as well. Like I said, he had the James Harden fat suit on. Do not blame him. I think wherever he signs, he is going to return back to his all-star form like we saw through 18 and 20. Not putting too much stock into it. He's still a good player. His value might be a little bit lower than it should be. So whatever team signs him, it's going to be a great bargain.
Agreed. 100% agreed. I don't know what teams are necessarily in on him, but say he goes to New York, like the Yankees, I have to imagine he has quite the resurgence there, especially if it's on a 1-year deal. He's looking to really cash in next year. I would have to imagine. And, if you want to talk about 2021, in addition to all of the frustrations with ownership in the front office, you also don't have a perennial MVP candidate in Nolan Arenado in the lineup anymore. And not that he's the type that is dependent on someone, more scary than him in the lineup. But we talk about protection for guys like Juan Soto and all this stuff. Like, you need protection in these lineups, or otherwise, you're just never going to find a real groove. So that obviously could be a huge factor into his decreased production this past year as opposed to years prior. I do think he will bounce back, and I do think he's going to be quite the bargain for someone once the lockout ends and teams can sign someone again. Trey, where's Trevor Story on your top 10?
I put Trevor Story at number 6 because I also agree. I think he's going to have a big bounce back season. I mean, just getting out of that situation, if
is a win in itself.
Yeah, if he who shall not be named was my owner, I wouldn't be very happy either. So, yeah, and he's got a great combination of contact, on base, power, and speed. And his defense is elite levels, by the way. I feel like he doesn't get enough credit for that, but he is that good. And I think his power will definitely translate out of Coors. He has legit power. It's not the Coors effect. It's legit. So yeah, the James Harden fat suit, that's about as good as you can sum it up, honestly. He's gonna be great for whoever signs him. I wanted the Nats to sign him in my original prediction video, which feels like
I guess
like
they
30 years away,
especially on a 1-year deal. Give him 1 year, $25 million, and if you suck, trade him at the deadline.
Yeah, I was just saying, go ahead and sign him long term to show.
So, I would love that more, but who the hell knows?
Yeah, but he's great, and yeah, he's gonna have a big year.
Yeah, I agree. So we're all in agreement there. Moving on to number 6 on our list. A guy also difficult to project because he has a difficult time staying healthy, and that is Corey Seeger. I had him at 5. Wait, hold on. Yeah, 5. I can count. Nope. Yes, I can count. I had him at 5. Ryan also had him at 5. He comes in at 6 because of the tiebreaker situation, which we'll talk about with the 2 guys ahead of him. Corey Seager, when he's on the field, you could argue he's like top 3, in my opinion. But he's so rarely on the field. There's all kinds of different injuries. People, it seems like so long ago, but like back in 2016, he was the MVP 3 when he won Rookie of the Year. He was an all-star as well. Followed up all-star, Silver Slugger, MVP 17. He's been so good for so long. It's just a matter of, can he stay healthy? Obviously, the Rangers, they had money to burn, but gave him a huge contract, 10 years, 325 million. You're not going to give that contract to someone who doesn't perform when they're on the field. They're just taking the risk of how, often will he be on the field. And, for just as a baseball fan, I hope it's more often than not, especially now that he's in the AL, but like he's so exciting and so freaking good. Last year, 95 games played, but 306 batting average, 394 on base percentage. So I know Ryan loves him. 915 OPS. There's so much to like about him. World Series MVP too. I might add. It's just a matter of how much are you getting with him. But when you get him, there's not much to dislike about him either. Ryan, what do you love so much about Corey Seeger?
Yeah, Corey Seager is great. You mentioned that World Series MVP. He was also NLCS MVP. And what stadium were they playing at when he did that? His
Globe
new
Life.
home in Globe Life. His
Yeah.
numbers in Globe Life were
That's
kind
right.
of
Were you going to say
ridiculous.
that?
Yep. Yeah, that
Because-
was.
I mean, that's literally like his best playoff numbers were in those stadiums. Corey Seager is very good. Like you said, it comes down to his health. When he's healthy, he's an elite shortstop. His recent injury history kind of gets you a little worried, Last year, he broke his 5th metacarpal in his hand. Not too worried about a hand injury, to be honest with you. I don't really care about that. But it is something to keep track of. He did not qualify for any of the stats. If he did, he would have led in on-base percentage, 4th in slugging. He had over 900 OPS. That's back-to-back years with OPS over 900. Career OPS 870. Like, we don't really have to argue about Corey Seager, timely playoffs, home runs, timely playoff hits against the Nats. Everyone knows what he can do. If he can stay healthy, that's going to be the biggest question for the Rangers. But going off his career work alone, you can't argue about him being outside, like inside top 10. Like, he's got to be there based on what he done last year in those 95 games as well.
Yeah, for sure. Trey, how high is Corey Seager on your list?
I put Corey Seager at number 5 because, yes, there are injury concerns, but I mean, he just hits so well for a shortstop. It's unbelievable. I mean, he almost slugged 600 in the shortened season last year, or in 2020, excuse me. And in 95 games last year, he just was so elite, especially down the stretch and obviously in the playoffs as well, or in 2020. But down the stretch, he had a great final month of the season as well. So going right into a new contract and next season, I think that's good for him to end the season that hot. And yeah, he walks 12% of the time, which is ridiculous. So that's going to translate regardless of, anything else. If he's on the field, he's going to walk. So that's good.
Yeah. So Corey Seager, very, very good. It's just a matter of how much can he play. He's only played above 100 games 3 times in 7 years. Granted, one of those was obviously the shortened 2020 season, but kind of alarming, if you're trying to shell out 300 plus million for a guy. But it's not that he doesn't deserve it. It's just, can he live up to it? So Corey Seager, number 6 on our list, even though we all had him ranked number 5. Ain't life a bitch. Moving on to the real number 5 on our list, we have Xander Bogart. I had him number 4, which again, that's how the tiebreaker works, is whoever's ranked higher. I had him number 4. Ryan had him number 6. I have always been a huge Xander Bogaerts fan. Prior to, I guess, 2020, I was like, oh, Xander Bogaerts, best shortstop in baseball. Like, when it was sort of like kind of a hot take, I guess. I've always loved Xander. I think, that contract he signed, 6 years, 120 million. It was such, granted, that reset the shortstop market at the time, but it's such a bargain for the Red Sox. I thought Xander Bogaerts was, deserving of so much more. But just to dive into the numbers a little bit, 4.9 WAR last year, 370 on base percentage. So I know you guys will like him because he gets on base. 863 OPS, 23 home runs, 79 RBIs. He's just been a guy that has always performed. Like the Red Sox, we talk about, their ups and downs. They win the World Series and then they win 60 games, and then they're back in the ALCS and then they win 70 games. Like Xander Bogaerts has just been a guy that, has really performed since he got his like everyday shot as their starting shortstop. And, he's just so good. Like, I don't know how like anyone can view him as not one of the game's best. Granted, we talked about it, the shortstop is a lot deeper now than it is or than it was a couple years ago, but Xander Bogaerts is still so elite. And I guess this maybe might be like a mini bold take here, but the Red Sox have proven themselves as a team that can go on a deep run. They're in the ALCS this past year. And, I don't know how they do it. Like it's, black magic or something, but they are capable of going on one of these deep runs. If they go on a deep run and Xander Bogaerts is kind of the face behind it, similar to like what Corey Seeger did, right? If Xander Bogaerts goes and leads the Red Sox to, a deep playoff run and possibly a World Series win, I would have no problem putting him as the best shortstop in baseball. Like I believe in Xander Bogaerts that much. He might not be as flashy as some of the other guys, but I think he's really damn good. And I've been a fan of his for quite a while. Ryan, you had Xander a little bit lower than some of the other guys. What's up with Xander Bogaerts for you?
Yeah, Xander is special. I'm a big Xander fan. It's his ability to extra base hits and be consistent year in and year out. His least amount of games played, not counting 2013 when he played 18, not counting 2020, is when he played 136 games. He's consistently going to hit mad doubles. Every year in his career, except for 2014, he's hit over 30 doubles. He's also hit over 40 doubles twice in his career, 52 doubles once, which is absurd. He's consistently great every single time at the plate. Don't really have to talk about that. The issue with Xander for me, and the reason why I put him lower, is he plays a premium position, and I'm going to mention this when I talk about someone a little bit shortly. His defense is atrocious. Xander Bogaerts is god-awful defensively. He is not the only person I'm going to point this out for. When you look at it, of 23 shortstops played at least 800 innings, he ranked 19th in defensive run save at -5. He was 34th of 35th in outs above average at -9. That was 27 runs behind Nick Ahmed, who led. He's a problem defensively, but when you're going to struggle defensively, you have to make it up offensively, and he does consistently year in and year out, which is the reason why people, mainly Red Sox fans, do not care about that. Because if you're going to struggle, you have to make it up elsewhere. He does, like I said, but there's conversations in Boston if they should move him out of shortstop when guys that they have in the system already, just because he is so bad defensively. That's why I had to bring him down a little bit lower than when I normally rate him.
Yeah, that's fair. Jeter Downs is probably the next shortstop they have, right? I think.
Yes.
Yeah. And obviously Jeter Downs is a very good prospect and projects well. Problem for Xander is, they have Rafael Devers at third. I guess he could move to second, but typically if you struggle at short, you're going to struggle at second. Very similar skill sets necessary there, but who knows? I still love him. I still love Xander. Trey, where do you have Xander Bogaerts in your top 10?
Xander Bogaerts came in at number 4 for me. And it's mostly just because of how consistent he's been over the last 4 years. His lowest WRC plus during that time is 130. And that is well above average. So just the consistency in his hitting, he's not a great fielder, but I think the greatness of his hitting ability really takes him over the edge and kind of nullifies that for me, at least. And his 2019 season was absolutely insane. And I think he's absolutely capable of having another season like that. But the worst you're going to get from Xander Bogaerts is if the worst you're going to get from Xander Bogaerts is a 130 WRC plus, then you should definitely take that any day of the week.
Yeah, 100%. Again, you don't have to sell me on Xander. Hopefully he just gets better defensively. So, he rises these rankings. But all right, moving on to number 4 as we crack into, the top 5, top 4 of our rankings. We have a guy here that I did not expect to be this high, in all honesty. I had him number 6. Ryan was actually the guy who had him number 4. And that's where the surprise comes, because typically Ryan has not been the biggest fan. I guess recently, I won't say typically, but recently Ryan has not been the biggest fan of this guy, even though prior to last year, he was probably the most likable guy in baseball. That is Francisco Lindor. Obviously, he got traded to the Mets. He was previously with Cleveland for a while and just, drowning in the cesspool that is Cleveland. Last year, several career lows across the board: 3.1 WAR, 230 batting average, 322 or on base percentage, in the 734 OPS. But if you want to go back to his years with Cleveland, 2016 to 2019, he was an all-star, top 15 in MVP voting or above in every single year, 2-time Gold Glove, 2-time Silver Slugger, Rookie of the Year 2 back in 2015 when he made his debut. Plus 30 plus bombs 3 years in a row. He was hitting towards the top of the lineup, so obviously the RBI numbers might not be there, but he's still hitting 89, 92, 74 RBIs in those consecutive years. Led the league in runs scored in 2018. Like, he has been so good, but he was not good in New York. So for me personally, he played in 125 games. I know he battled some injuries, but 125 is, still a good amount for me to be of the opinion that he might be one of those guys that struggles in New York. And granted, the Mets are the little brother to the Yankees and all that stuff, but some guys get traded to New York, whether it's the Mets or Yankees, and they just struggle. And I hope that's not the case for Francisco Lindor. I mean, I do, because I'm a Nats fan, but I hope that's not the case, because he's so likable, and the big smile on your face. He's good for baseball, but the first year in New York was not inspiring. He got paid, and I'm not accusing him of only being in it for the money, but it's just, there is a red flag. He did not have a good year. Again, there was injuries and probably other reasons besides just bright lights, big city, going from Cleveland to New York. But I was not all that inspired by his play last year when he was healthy. Who knows? The Mets were a dumpster fire themselves, so you could probably apply the Rockies argument with Trevor Story to Francisco Lindor with dealing what he had to deal with the Mets. Who the hell knows? But Ryan, you seemingly have gotten past your previous narrative about Francisco Lindor. Why did you have him at number 4?
New Year's, new narratives. Francisco Lindor is a great shortstop. He, up until this year, was kind of like Bogart's the model of consistency, 30 home runs. You know exactly what he's going to do. He's going to get you your 40 plus doubles. He had 3 straight years where he hit 40 plus doubles. 40 plus doubles and 30 plus home runs in the same season together is quite impressive, to be honest with you, especially when you're doing that, stealing 20 bases as well. 2 times Silver Slugger, got the Gold Gloves as well. There's a reason for that. Excuse me. He's also a Platinum Glove winner. There are 3 positions on the field that you trade off great defense for bad offense. I'm not saying he was bad last year, because it was bad for his standards. It was the worst year offensively of his career. But when you look at his numbers, he was still above league average. Lindor provide consistently great defense for the Mets last year. Those numbers were below where he has been in his career. But like I said, he is a Gold Glove and a Platinum Glove winner. Of course, it's going to be a little bit lower. But if you're a shortstop providing great defense, it really doesn't really matter how you're going to do offensively, because how that is going to change your your infield. Defensively, I do think he bounces back as well and pops back up to who he was. He's only entering his age 28 season. There's no reason why he can't hit 30 home runs and 40 some odd doubles again. And I think he's going to, if he keeps providing that great defense. Mets aren't going to complain.
That is fair. Trey, where did Francisco Lindor fall on your list?
I had Lindor at number 7.
A little bit lower.
And it was mostly just because I think that Story and Seeger are also going to have great years, because I think Lindor is going to bounce back too. And his defense, it wasn't quite at the same level as he has done has had in the past, but I think that'll even out. The only concern was he struggled a lot against fastballs. At least I remember early in the season last year. just high velocity. So hopefully he can get that fixed because he's an exceptionally talented player. I mean, a couple years ago, he was probably about to take the number one spot, if not took the number one spot at shortstop. But he's 28. Like, he's got plenty of time. He's going to bounce back. But I also think that the other guys are going to have great seasons as well. So now if he does peak back to where he was in like 2018, that 2018 season, then he's just going to skyrocket up my list. But we'll have to see. I still like Lindor a lot, though.
Yeah, I can't disagree there. We'll just see how it all plays out and what the real New York Met Francisco Lindor looks like whenever the season resumes. Going into our top three. So just for the record, Ryan and I had the same exact 1, 2, and 3. So this was where our list got definitely easier and it was more smooth sailing. Coming in at number 3 for both of us is one Trey Turner. Nats fans know him well. If you combine his 2021 season with both the Nats and the Dodgers, he had a 6.5 WAR, won the batting title with a 328 average, OPS above 900. He had 28 bombs, 77 RBIs. Ryan obviously very notoriously was pushing the Trey Turner for MVP campaign before the season even started, and for a while there it looked like he might just get it, but obviously the trade impacted that. Granted, the Nats suck too, so who knows if he would have won even if he stayed with the Nats, but still a very, very good season. Also led the league in hits as well. Trey Turner, like, he's gotten better for the most part, as his career has progressed. He's always hit for average. He's always gotten on base at a respectable to great clip. Last year 375 on base percentage. 2020 as well, he had a 394. Granted, small sample size, but 394 OBP. That's what we were just praising Corey Seeger about. I don't know, like, maybe it's just because he's not a Nat anymore or what. I have a feeling Trey Turner is going to regress, and I don't know if that's just me, and it's not necessarily I'm like rooting for it, but I just have a feeling he's going to regress. It's just like I don't have stats to back that up. Like, I don't have, like I said, he's pretty much been getting better for the most part as he has gone on and progressed through his career, but I just have a gut feeling that he's going to regress a little bit. Not a ton, not where he's going to drop out of the top 10 completely, but I do think he's going to regress. And I hope not, but that's just like a gut feeling. So that's why I didn't really consider putting him above the 1 or 2 slot guys, but he did have such a great year last year that putting him any lower than 3 was just absurd. But Ryan, what are your thoughts on former friend Trey Turner?
Yeah, 2021 NL MVP campaign, man. Look at that. Called that shit. So the thing with Trey is a great baseball player, and we all know it. We have watched him for his entire career. I'll get to that in a second. Trey's the guy who just hasn't been able to put all of the tools together at the same time. When he came up in 2016, we saw them. We saw the speed. He had 33 stolen bases in 73 games. That's absolutely stupid. He had 13 home runs, 8 triples, 14 doubles in 73 games. He slugged 673 games. Like, we were like, okay, this guy's gonna be a freaking superstar. He's a 5-star player, 5-tool player. After that, he just couldn't really put the tools together. The power never really showed up. He never had over a 20 home run season. The speed was there. He kept getting hurt. 2018 did play every single game. He struggled with some injuries, getting hit, breaking his hand, trying to bunt. Don't bunt. But in 2021, he put all the tools together again. 375 on base, 536 slugging, 330 batting average, led the league in stolen bases, led the league in hits, 34 home runs, career high 34 doubles, career high 28 home runs for him, which is absolutely great. He had 10 of those when he went to the Dodgers in the second half. He finally put those tools together. The question with him, as always, is going to be, can he consistently do it? If Trey can, he is an elite shortstop and going to be top 3 consistently. His defense stinks. It did get better in 2021. It did. But in 2020, his defense was abysmal.
It's hard to get worse.
it's like, it's so weird because Trey is probably one of the fastest players in baseball, but he has no range. Makes no sense whatsoever. His range last year was the best it's been of his career. It was negative 1.2 UZR 150. Don't know how. Trey Turner has no range. His defensive struggles are well noted, but he played second base last year. That's fine. But if he can consistently put those tools together, he's going to be in our top 3 every single year he does.
Yeah, that's fair. Also, probably the best slide/gif/clip of all time. That slide into home where he just like gradually pops up.
And the king is smooth right there.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, it's mesmerizing. You'll watch it 100 times in a row easily. Trey, your namesake, granted spelled differently. Where do you have him on your list?
Trey Turner is my number 3 as well. So he slugged over 500 the last 2 seasons. If that is sustainable, then he's going to stay in the top 3 for me, because the combination of speed and power there is just elite at that point. I mean, we all know about Trey Turner. He's gonna not strike out, contact guy, not gonna walk that much either. But if he's gonna hit 328 and slug 536, then you don't really care as much about the on base percentage as you would otherwise. So I don't know if I necessarily see him regressing. Maybe a little bit, like you said, Nick.
Not a ton, but
I don't know if he will probably doesn't have that much of a realistic chance to slide out of the top 5 for me unless he really has a rough season.
Yeah, that's fair. I think for me, because I made some aggressive bold predictions with both Buchette and Franco top 5. For me, just picturing it, I would probably drop Seeger and Trey for my top if like my projections pan out as I expect them to. But Trey wouldn't drop any lower than 6 because I don't think he's going to be terrible. Like, he hasn't had a terrible year in his entire career, so I don't think he's going to warrant that far of a drop. But right now he's one of the best players in the game. There's not really arguing against that, because like Ryan said, he finally put it all together and showed that he is one of the best players in the game. And one thing we didn't mention, he was playing second base for the Dodgers after the trade, and obviously that's carries over into your batting and just playing a different position in the mindset and the preparation, all that stuff, and being traded going from East Coast to West Coast, obviously a big deal. So we'll see how Trey Turner fares playing shortstop for the Dodgers and having a full season and a full off season with the Dodgers as well. Moving into number two, arguably the face of baseball, that is Fernando Tatis Jr. Signed a huge mega deal before he had even played a full 162 game season, or just 162 games in general. But in the first year of that mega deal, it seems to have paid off just fine for the Padres. 6.6 WAR, 282 batting average, led the league in home runs with 42, 97 RBIs, 25 stolen bases, 364 on base, 975 OPS. I mean, it's hard to argue against that. Like, that is pretty solid. And if he continues to do stuff like that, he might make that mega deal look like a bargain. The issue presently is obviously that shoulder. Did he have surgery? Did they just rest it? I don't remember.
No surgery.
Yeah, no. So I don't think so either.
So presumably that decision was made because it will, heal itself with time and rest. And obviously, we get a little bit more rest with no spring training and the season not starting on time. But that's the present concern. But if he is healthy, there's no reason he shouldn't be top 2. Like, he is as advertised. MVP 4 in 2020, MVP 3 last year, All-Star, Silver Slugger both years. Probably would have been All-Star, but obviously no All-Star game in 2020. His rookie year 3 in 2019. And as I mentioned with Tim Anderson, the electricity is there. And I love that, and something I factor highly in these rankings. I want the personality to come with the star players, and it feels like a lot of the guys in baseball, we don't get that. So when we do, I like to appreciate it. So I couldn't put him number one, but he is absolutely nipping at the heels and a firm number two for me. Fernando Tatis probably would be like top 2 or 3 right fielders if he sticks to outfield for whatever reason as well. But shortstop, very, very good. Ryan, why is Fernando Tatis so good?
He's got that dog.
Yeah, that's what I was waiting
for. Tatis is special. He's one of my favorite players not on the Nationals. When you look at his numbers, he's just good. This year was the coming out party for him. 97 RBIs, 42 home runs, 975 OPS, which is absolutely absurd. And he's done a lot of very special things. He's the first player in MLB history with 40 plus home runs, 30 plus stolen bases in his first 162 games. He was also the 10th player in MLB history to hit 40 or more home runs in a season before turning 23. Fernando Tatis is special. If you're a shortstop who can hit 40 or more home runs, you're going to be an all-star. You're going to win Silver Slugger. You're going to be in the MVP conversation every single year. That's just how that's going to work. And it's going to keep working with him. He has 2 issues though. I said I was going to mention him, and I'm going to mention it. The man stinks at defense, and it's something you kind of can't ignore with him. He has no range whatsoever. He had -6 defensive runs saved last year. His ultimate zone rating, 150, was -11.2. That's not good. But I said it was Xander, and I'm going to say it again. If you stink at one place, you have to make it up. And he more than made it up offensively. If your OPS is close to 1,000, if you're a shortstop and 22 years old, slugging above 600, no one's going to care about your defense, which no one did. The Padres did move in the right field just because he was really bad defensively, but they also have like 15 infielders who could play shortstop last year. But if he consistently does this offensively, he's going to be not only the face of baseball, he's going to be one of the best players in baseball. And he's going to be very, very fun to watch as he continues to grow and develop into the game. His numbers since he's come up have been consistent, like 3 years, career 965 OPS. Like that's just absolutely absurd. His career slugging is 600. He's a very, very special player, and I cannot wait to keep watching him. My second concern, injuries to the shoulder are devastating. Not just the pitchers, to everyone. And something we kind of don't really talk about in baseball enough, guys who do not suffer a shoulder injury average a 8-year career. Guys who do suffer a major shoulder injury average less than a 4-year career. So that's something that's definitely going to be needed to keep an eye on with Tatis as he continues to play, is how is his shoulder going to keep up?
I mean, just move to first base, like the Ryan Zimmerman treatment.
Yeah.
It's not like he was great at shortstop anyways. Am I right? But one thing I did want to mention, pairing someone as electric as Fernando Tatis Jr. with someone as electric as Don Orsillo is just like chef's kiss, like match made in heaven. And it's just awesome TV. Like the West Coast games are a must watch when you have someone like Fernando Tatis. Trey, did Fernando Tatis crack that coveted number 1 spot, or is he a little bit further down on your list?
He did. I put him at number 1 on my list. And yes, I understand the defense is a huge issue. But he's 23. He's got some time to potentially work some of those kinks out. I don't really see him ever getting to the point where he's good, but if he can just become average, that would be great. He hit 42 home runs in 130 games. That's insane.
Not bad.
That means that he would have been closer to 50 had he played a full 162. And I believe there's only one shortstop ever that has hit 50 home runs in a season. It was A-Rod, like multiple times. I believe that's correct. If I'm wrong, I will make sure to. It's correct. Good.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but if you're a young shortstop and people are talking about A-Rod with you, you're in good company.
Yeah. And, as far as we are aware, obviously he could, now that it's legal, not on the roids. It's technically legal right now, obviously, because there's a lockout and they're not testing. But .611 slugging. He's got 50 home run potential as a shortstop. So I'm betting on the youth here and saying he's going to be the best shortstop in 2022.
I mean, that's a perfectly fine take. I don't even think that's hot take. I think that's just, that's acceptable. For once, Trey has like a reasonable take on.
For once, I've had one bad one, and it's not even going to be bad by the end of the season.
All right, number one on our list, obviously the guy we have not mentioned yet. That is Derek Jeter, coming back to play shortstop for the Yankees after resigning from the Marlins. Funny enough, it is not Derek Jeter, but it is the guy who talked plenty of shit about Derek Jeter. And I don't even know what necessarily prompted that, but it was funny nonetheless. One of the most punchable faces in baseball, that is Carlos Correa. Feel the way you want to feel about him, whatever. He is still very, very good. Apply what we talked about with Jose Altuve last week to this week with Carlos Correa, probably even more so. Like, he's been so solid. You can't find many holes in his game. Like, he's just all around. And the thing that really takes him over the top, obviously recency bias, it plays a heavy part in this. He might be the best ALDS hitter of all time. Like, dude absolutely goes nuclear in the ALDS. Obviously, he's pretty solid throughout the entire postseason, has plenty of postseason experience. But like the ALDS, for whatever reason, or just the division series, like, he goes absolute nuclear. Like, I remember the 2020 ALDS against Oakland, he's hitting like multiple bombs. And this past year, I believe they played the White Sox. He went nuclear yet again, and the White Sox were obviously built on their pitching staff. And Carlos Correa said, tough shit. Like, I am taking you yard. Carlos Correa, again, very punchable face, but he's just good. Like, what can you really say? This past year, 7.2 WAR, 279 batting average, 92 RBIs, 26 home runs, 850 OPS. So it's not like the flashy numbers that Fernando Tatis boasts, but like, Carlos Correa is just so good. Like, I don't think you can find many holes in this game other than he has a very punchable face. But Ryan, what are your thoughts on Carlos Correa? Why was he your number one?
Yeah, everyone hating Carlos Correa makes me like him more.
Shocker there.
Correa does have some issues in his past with consistency. When you look at his numbers, 2017 stands out very much so. But this year, they
wonder why.
they weren't cheating this year, but his numbers were still great. Carlos Correa is someone that the analytics absolutely loves. He is someone as a player who fully embraced analytics. He started talking about a lot this year about his WRC plus and a lot of other analytical stats, and for good reasons, because he leads in most of them. Him and Tatis are at the top in a lot of them. The reason why I put him one over Tatis is the boy can play defense, and defense matters. Shortstop, there's a reason why I keep talking about. He had 20 defensive run saves, which is just absolutely absurd for shortstop.
Quite good.
For anyone, really, that's really, really good. And he also had a lot of range as well, which plays into it. And we all know how strong his arm is. He is just good defensively. He's consistent offensively. Well, consistent the last couple of years. Offensively, gotta look around what 2017 did to his numbers, but that defensive boost is the reason why I put him at number one. Here's my favorite stat. In 79 playoff games, he's probably the best shortstop hitter for playoffs, maybe. He's hitting 272, 344, 505 with 18 home runs and 59 RBIs in 79 playoff games. That's absolutely absurd. Adam Eaton in the 162 game average, 12 home runs and 57 RBIs and a 763 OPS. So in 80 playoff games, Carlos Correa is monumentally better than Adam Eaton in one season. That's all I'm saying.
Just had to get in the Eaton slander.
I love it.
Adam Eaton sucks.
I love it. Trey, why was Correa not your number one?
I love Correa, and by that I mean I also hate him. But yeah, so
that's
he's
future
just,
Nat Carlos Correa. Show some goddamn respect.
Well, I mean, I will love him unconditionally if he comes to the Nats. But yeah, so he's an amazing player. He's had very consistent plate discipline throughout his career, very consistent power throughout his career. And obviously the defense, he probably, I honestly, if I don't know if it's a hot take, I think he's the best defensive shortstop right now, personally. But obviously that's debatable. But
Simmons
I don't.
is probably the only argument.
Yeah, but yeah. Well, before, when he was playing like every day at shortstop, definitely.
Yeah. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, no problem. So I really like Correa a lot, and I think he's going to be phenomenal next season. He's only 27, which is insane. I feel like he's been around forever because he kind of has. But I really like how Tatis projects. If Tatis gets to 50 homers, which I think he's very capable of doing,
hard to argue against that.
That's my only thing. Even if the defense isn't quite there, that's just ridiculous. But they were basically interchangeable. I went back and forth on it a lot. To be fair, I struggle hard with this choice, but I went with him at number 2, and I still think he's an amazing player.
Yeah. So a fun fact about the list, so just to quickly run through the composite list between Ryan and myself: Carlos Correa, Fernando Tatis, Trey Turner, Francisco Lindor, Xander Bogarts, Corsiger, Trevor Story, Beau Buchette, Tim Anderson, Wander Franco. They're all under 30. And that's just goes to show the depth. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I think Turner and Story, maybe. Oh yeah, no, Turner, Story, Lindor are like, they're 28, and I think they're the oldest of the bunch. Like this is a very young and deep class, and even if we're gonna get to the honorable mentions here in a minute, but like it's just such a young position that it's going to be good for quite some time. And as Ryan has mentioned the past couple of weeks, like guys will be shifting in and out of shortstop based on, how good they are defensively or injuries or what prospects might be coming up that fill that position better, probably defensively. But like this class is just so good. Or I shouldn't say class, it's not that they're same year or anything, but like this position is just so good. It's pretty crazy. But Trey, I correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you had the same guys, different order, but same 10 guys in your top 10 as well.
Yeah, that is correct. I did.
So that makes it sound like it's very cut and dry, but
it's still not.
it's still not, in my opinion, and it could look a lot different. Maybe not names, but positionally, or like rankings wise, if we're doing this next off season. Let's get into some honorable mentions. I had one that I was like trying to find every number in the book, some excuse as to why he belonged in the top 10. Maybe next year in his full season with his new team, he will get there. But right now I couldn't put him above like Tim Anderson or Wander Franco. That I just couldn't. But that is Willie Adames, the guy Wander Franco sent packing out of town. Granted, he wasn't doing well with the Rays at the time of the trade, but when he got to Milwaukee, he took off. 285, 366, 521 for 886 OPS. He hit 20 bombs in 99 games with Milwaukee, 58 RBIs. Like he was, and he walked 47 times in those 99 games as well. Like he was so good. Like I don't know what's going on in Milwaukee, because it feels like that's just, outside looking in, obviously not being an MLB player, it seems like just such a good place to play and just a good environment, good culture. And there's obviously so many bad places to play for one reason or another, but it seems like guys go there and just have like great years. And Willie Adames was one of those. And, I mentioned the youth movement. He's only 25 heading into his age 26 season. So who knows what he might discover when he gets a full season with Milwaukee and whatnot. But if you want to go back to his last couple of years with Tampa, like he's still solid. Like 2020 shortened season, but 813 OPS. 2019 he's 20 bombs. His OPS was a little bit lower, 735, but still solid. And that was also his age 23 season, so he's gotten consistently better. I'm a big Willie Adames fan, but this top 10 is already so good, it's hard to find a room for him. But that was my one big honorable mention, where I'm like trying to finesse any single stat I can and create a narrative that he's top 10. But I actually list these guys out, and he's not there yet. He could be, but he's not there yet. Did you guys have Trey? I know you did, so I'll save you for last. Ryan, did you have an honorable mention that you were fighting over?
I'm literally blanking on their names. Come back to me. Give me 10 seconds.
All right, Trey, go ahead. Name your 7 honorable mentions.
Yeah, I had a bunch. I wrote literally every shortstop, but obviously that was just a joke. The one I want to talk about the most, you can guess this guy if you want.
Why you told? I know this guy.
Yeah, Nikki Lopez.
Yeah.
Okay, so
talk about him.
I'll talk about Nikki first. So I said Carlos Correa, I think, is the best defensive shortstop right now. But if Nikki Lopez does what he did last year again, he's going to take that spot because he's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know if you guys just go watch some highlights of this guy playing defense because it's absolutely insane what he's able to do out there.
Yeah, I don't think many people know about him yet.
Yeah, and that's because he's on the Royals, obviously. I tried, like you did with Adames, I tried everything in my power to get him in this top 10, but he's a typical shortstop profile. Obviously, 10, 20 years ago, these big power shortstops weren't very prevalent. Now they kind of are, but he's a contact first approach. He hit 300, got on base enough to 365, but his walk rate was good enough, probably about middle of the road. But he doesn't hit for any power. I think that's fine, honestly. He's got every other tool, so he's going to be a great player going forward as well. Another super young guy. And then, I had a bunch of other guys. Giants fans probably hate us right now because we didn't talk about Brandon Crawford. Mm-hmm. But he's old. So
he's old. Yeah,
but he was amazing last year. Javi Baez, JP Crawford, I love out of Seattle. He's a great defender as well.
Yeah, he could skyrocket up this list.
Yeah, I love him too. So those are my guys.
Yeah, no Gleyber Torres.
I actually was gonna be talking about Gleyber in potentially this week's video. So stay tuned.
We'll save it. We'll say. But even if you drop down the list a little bit, like there's still so many solid guys. Like you mentioned, Brandon Crawford. Isaiah Kiner Falefa, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Like he kind of plays defender everywhere, but yeah, he's deserving of like an honorable mention. David Fletcher, he was more of a second baseman, but he played some shortstop. He was really good and kind of took the Angels by storm there for a little bit as well. Miguel Rojas, noted Nats killer. Paul DeYoung. Like there's so many shortstops.
I guess I'll say Dansby Swanson.
I hate it.
Dansby sucks. Don't mention him again.
Yeah, I think he's the most overrated player. Well,
I think he's overrated as well,
but I think he's insanely overrated. Obviously, we didn't mention Alcides Escobar,
the GOAT.
That sucked. That like left a bad taste in my mouth. That was not fun. I won't be making that joke again. There's a ton of guys. Like I'm scrolling through the list right now and I'm just like, geez, there's already so many guys we didn't talk about, but that's just the nature of it. And the Nats don't have anyone in the top 30. But it is what it is at this point. The Nats are the Nats. We don't have baseball anyways, so just cancel the season. It's not like it matters. All right, but that does it for shortstops. Next week we'll be tackling third baseman, the hot corner. Off the top of my head, I think it's going to be a pretty good discussion. I think especially with that 7 through 12 range again, I think there's going to be quite some mix up in the rankings because some guys, might be moving to third or might be moving off of third. So we'll have to see what the arguments are for third baseman next week. Before we wrap here, obviously seems like we won't have baseball. I don't imagine a deal being done anytime soon. Do you guys have any final thoughts, any last words before we officially head into the abyss of canceled games?
Manfred sucks.
Manfred does suck.
Baseball was fun while it lasted.
Yeah.
She's not here, so Ryan, I unfortunately can't give you a full victory lap, but you've been like declaring baseball as dead or as dying for as long as we've been doing this show. And, some people just didn't want to hear it, but you are the voice that is necessary, even when people don't want to hear it.
No, I just straight up appreciate that, man. You're a really swell guy, and
don't give me the fucking Monty treatment. Like,
Or the Matt Weyrich.
I don't need to hear about how great of a guy I am. Oh God. Baseball. Yeah. RIP. You were my favorite, and you are dead because you were killed. That sucks. But
great ending. Very positive.
Yeah. That got very depressing. But Trey is going to continue to put out phenomenal content. Obviously, if you're watching this, this has been a great episode. I would say top 180 of all time,
give or take.
Definitely, give or take. And he has potentially another nice little video coming out for you this week as well. So keep your eye out on that. Again, be sure to head to the YouTube page if you're not already on it. Click subscribe so you don't miss any of the great videos Trey's putting out. Head over to Twitter. You can follow us all there. Trey, you can follow him at reverse 2 R's 2 S's. Ryan at We Are All Shaq. Myself at Nats Moose. The show at Half Street High Heat, and be sure to check out halfstreethighheat.com as well. You can find all of the latest articles from our great writing team: Monty, Allison, Danny, Matt, Tyler, CK. Did I forget anyone?
Shit.
I think I nailed it.
I think you got it.
Oh God, I hope I nailed it. I shouldn't have listed everyone. That was a bad move, but I think I got everyone. A great writing team over there is continuing to put out great content during this lockout and obviously non-baseball time. And obviously the merch and all that good stuff for Half Street High Heat. Again, next week, the hot corner. So be sure to brush up on your third baseman. This has been an episode of Half Street High Heat. We don't know when baseball will be coming back, so just hang tight, I guess. I don't know. Next week, we'll be back, I promise. See ya.